But for us, there is no better story. There is no more relevant story. There is no more important story than the cheaters from Texas. And I'm talking about those scoundrels that play baseball in Houston. And every day there's something that comes out. Every day there's something that comes out. Now, for example, the latest on this, a former Astros player, Marwin Gonzalez. Marwin Gonzalez, who was a key kind of reserve part-time guy for the 2017 World Series Astros. He has now come out and apologized for his role in the illicit espionage scandal that has rocked professional baseball. And I don't know if you saw this or not. Maybe you didn't hear it and whatnot. Now, Gonzalez told reporters at Minnesota Twins camp, because that's where we always go to get the inside information. He's with the Twins now. And he had a lot to say, and I guess we have some audio here. All right, well, I was debating whether to play this or not because he mumbles a lot, but let's hear from the man of the hour here, Marwin Gonzalez, who used the R word.
I'm here to tell how I feel, and then just that I'm remorseful for everything that happened in 2017, everything that we did as a group, and like the players that were affected directly by us by doing this and some other things. And then that's what I feel the more regret, and that's what I'm remorseful.
Yeah, there was a lot of echo. He was standing in the Minnesota Twins spring training dugout. Marwin is believed to be the first current or former Astro position player, bang, bang, that has said he's sorry. Here's more from Marwin Gonzalez, who points out you cannot unring the bell.
I felt really remorseful for what happened, and then how I say, I think I hope that we could take it back, but there's nothing we can do now.
There's actually a lot you can do now. You little weasel. There's a lot you can do, and I'll tell you what you can do. Send that World Series ring back. Pull a Reggie Bush. Send the ring back. Say, I don't want any part. I'm going to give back the World Series bonus. Do it. That's what you could do. Here's more from the cheating Astro, now with the Minnesota Twins, who makes him a cheating twin, Marwin Gonzalez, and asked about public perception.
All I know is that I'm focused on this year, and then I prepare the same way as I prepare every year. I think that every player does that. They put the most work that they can in off-season to improve, and then that's the only thing I can control. I cannot control how people think of me. I can control of how hard I work, and then that's the way that I prepare for this season.
Yeah, well, Marwin, you know what you are, in my opinion, the opinion of most knowledgeable baseball fans. You are the stuff behind the toilet. That's what you are. You know that crusty stuff behind the toilet? That's what Marwin Gonzalez is. And so he says he's remorseful. Now, does that include the code-breaker dinger he hit in Game 2 of the World Series, cheating using the dark arts against Kenley Jansen at Dodger Stadium in the ninth inning, leading off the ninth inning? The Jedi Master of the dark arts, Marwin Gonzalez? So let us discuss the question, is this Marwin Gonzalez apology something or nothing? All right, if this was a restaurant, this would be a nothing burger with extra cheese is what this would be here. You've got flatulence, police headquarters, and the stumble bum. And we will tie all these things together in a knot. I learned that when I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, very briefly. Mostly a Cub Scout, not a Boy Scout. Now, Major League Baseball, they should, again, hire me as an advisor. They're missing out. I'm giving out this free advice in the middle of the night and on the podcast, but as a distant relative of the great Nostradamus and friend of Nostradinus, we foreshadowed what is becoming a 16-car pileup on the side of the expressway. The Astros and this scandal, it has legs and it ain't gonna die. It's the gift that keeps giving. Just when you think you've gotten rid of it, you take your medication, a month later it's back, if you know what I'm saying. And so every day we get to come in here and there's some version of this story that we can talk about. It's going to go on for the near future and probably for a very long amount of time. We are going to get roughly 40 of these type news conferences, the publicity stunts, sporadically over the next couple of weeks, probably the next couple of months as we go into the baseball season. Randomly, members, past and present, of the 2017 Astros will issue statements. Major League Baseball, the people that run the PR department, the overlords of public relations, should have advised these dummies not to apologize. And I'll tell you why. We've talked about this before, but maybe there's new people listening. Should apologize. The normal rules of societal behavior do not translate to this story. And again, I'm on the other side of the aisle here. I am enjoying the uncomfortableness that these Astro weasels are experiencing, past and present. But when I say the normal rules of social behavior do not translate to these kind of stories, if you have, let's say, I'll give you an example. If you have a silent but deadly moment of flatulence at family dinner, toot, toot, yeah, just like that, you know what you do? You apologize. You excuse yourself from the table. You go to the powder room. You clean up the mess. When a public figure apologizes, it makes things worse. It breathes new life into the story. It keeps it in the headlines. The main reason these apologies are silly is the 80-20 rule. 80% of people don't believe the apology is sincere. They're doing it because they got caught. And the other 20% don't care because they have their own problems to deal with. Now, I'm in the 80% camp. I don't believe this is sincere at all. I think all these guys are Pinocchio, and another Pinocchio in the back. These guys are simply apologizing because they got caught. And they got ratted out by Mike Fiers, one of their own teammates. And if he hadn't said that, none of this would have happened. If Mike Fiers hadn't been on the record, if he had been some unnamed source close to the Astros, which usually is how this stuff works, then we don't get Marwin Gonzalez saying he's remorseful in spring training. That doesn't happen. Now, part B here, Marwin Gonzalez's news conference was a total dog and pony show. All right, it rang hollow, and we played the audio there. I don't know if you saw the visual here because it's an audio-visual presentation, but you could hear just by the audio, he was flummoxed. Marwin Gonzalez was flummoxed. So we were debating whether or not to play the audio or not, and the quality, as you heard, was not that great. But he had the body language of the getaway driver from a bank heist who gets called into police headquarters for some questioning. You know what I'm talking about? He was anxious. He was nervous. He had sluggish posture. He had the mannerisms, the gyrations of someone who should be charged with racketeering, which is appropriate, right? What the Astros did here, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What the Astros did, each and every player, every dirty, rotten scoundrel that played for the 2017 Astros.
Loser.
Every one of them banked cartoon-sized bonus checks. When I say cartoon-size, I'm talking in the neighborhood of $500,000. $438,000, almost $439,000. And that's the highest playoff share that had ever been handed out in the history of sport. And it went to the cheaters. You know what that qualifies as? Grand theft. Okay, and I recommend, California, they tax everything. Why not put these guys in jail? Right? California law on grand theft defines grand theft as the intentional taking away of the property, like a World Series trophy that should have been the Dodgers, to another team, in this case, the cheating, espionage-ridden Astros, when the property or services stolen are worth more than $950, with a World Series trophy is worth more than $950. Guilty on all charges for the Astros. Every one of these players, guilty. Grand theft. That brings a 1-year prison sentence. So send Altuve to the pokey, and Bregman right behind him. All right, last word here. So I want to go back to the sham apology by Marwin Gonzalez. He had, and we played some of the clips, he had mumble mouth working overtime, right? He had a little Sammy Sosa vibe. Remember when Sammy, if you're an old fart, you remember when Sammy went to big star for the Cubs and he went in front of Congress and suddenly he lost the ability to speak English. Anyway, it's amazing how uncomfortable this guy looked, considering how cocky he was and all these 2017 cheaters that did not win the 2017 World Series because that's worthless. Watching Marwin Gonzalez act like a total stumble bum while talking to the reporters was great. I almost overdosed on Schadenfreude. I did. I was on a Schadenfreude high watching all this go down. And this is going to be a big week for Schadenfreude. I'll tell you why in a sec. But you could see the flop sweat developing on Marwin Gonzalez in this little news conference at the Twins camp. And watching this play out, you know what he should have done is he should have brought Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman with him, and they could have banged on trash cans or given him a buzzer to tip him off on what question was coming next from reporters. And this thing only lasted like 4.5 minutes. Nobody benefited more from being a dirty dog than Marwin Gonzalez. What's my evidence? Right? Let's go to the stats. My source, that Astro fan, Tony Adams from SignStealingScandal.com, and he tracked as many games as he could get his hands on, and the bang, bang of the trash can, 147 of 776 pitches when Gonzalez was batting at home. That means about 20% of the time he was being notified on what pitch was coming. Now, keep in mind, we don't know all the details. It's possible it's much higher than 20%. We only know the bang, bang. We believe that there were buzzers used. Many baseball players have said they believe buzzers were used by the Astros and other tells to tip them off. The other thing about this, we mentioned Graham Theft and the Astros getting all this money, $30 million almost paid out for cheating. How about Gonzalez? 2017, this bum hit 300, had 23 home runs, a career high, 90 runs batted in, a 907 OPS. Tainted! Tainty McTaint! And he parlayed that, and the dopes in Minnesota gave this guy a $21 million free agent contract to play for the Twins, and literally and figuratively laughing this guy is all the way to the bank. All the way to the bank. Now, I mentioned, as we move on here, that this is a big week for Schadenfreude. And I'm going to tell you why. All right, because on Wednesday, the owner of the Astros, who should be forced to sell the team, another Mamaluke, Jim Crane. I wanted to say a bad word, not allowed to do it. So Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, he is going to meet, we are told, with the entire Astro roster. They're having a war meeting. They're going into the war room in the Astro clubhouse, and they are talking amongst each other on how to own the story. The spin doctors. Well, we understand the Astros have hired some PR crisis people when there's a big PR scandal on how to position this, so the idiots that believe you and feel sorry for you for cheating and stealing a World Series. So these bums are getting together, and now pitchers and catchers are the only ones that are supposed to report to Astros camp on Wednesday, but this is such a big deal, they're flying in all the other cheaters. Altuve, the cheater, Bregman, the cheater, go down the list. All the dirty, rotten Astro players are flying in to participate in this. And then the plan is they will open the floodgates on Thursday and have a media availability where you'll get a series of apologies, but apologies that are choreographed, that are all put together by some PR firm in Manhattan that is advising the Astros on how to handle this, somebody that advises Major League Baseball. So when Bregman and Altuve, who already had a chance to talk, they did not apologize and all that. And this is just the beginning, because next week the baseball ruling is supposed to come down on the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox must think that their new manager, Ron Roenicke, is going to be dinged because they only made him the interim manager, which means he could be fired if his name comes up in said report. And the beat goes on. The beat goes on. I'm warning you, do not fall for the PR spin. Be smarter than that. Do not do it. Do not do it.